Marshall Gittler is the head of global FX strategy at the online trading firm Iron FX. He joins us now from Limassol in Cyprus. Marshall, good to see you again. We talked on Monday, I think, and I feel like you fully lied to me. You said that foreign exchange stuff is really, really solid in Cyprus, and none of the money there could actually have any taint connected to it and whatever, that kind of stuff. I've heard other things through the course of the week. You standing by that?
Well, I'm sure you've heard a lot of things, but what I believe I said was that the money laundering laws in Cyprus fully agree or fully in compliance with EU standards, and I stand by that right now. We are fully in compliance with the EU standard, and we are on the white list in the OECD.
So explain something that Felicia just said to me a couple minutes ago, that one of the reasons U.S. markets are not reacting to this is because there's a feeling that there's not a lot of contagion, that this is fairly specific to Cyprus, and even if it's not, the economy is so small on a global scale, even on an EU scale, that it doesn't matter. Explain to me, whatever they come up with, do you think they're likely to go back into bank accounts like the initial proposal that Parliament rejected?
Well, I think her comment was quite on the spot. People are worried that what happens, or were initially worried that what happens here would provide a template for Spain or Italy or something like that. And people realize now that it's quite a unique situation. What happens here is not necessarily applicable to those other countries. And the banking crisis here doesn't have the systemic implications because other countries don't have as much money in or don't hold Cypriot bonds or have as big deposits. You know, with Greece, for example, French and German banks, I believe, had something like hundreds of billions of euros in the Greek banks or own Greek government bonds. That sort of connection just isn't there. The country doesn't have that much bonds outstanding, so it won't have that big a knock-on effect on the German banking system or the French banking system, and what happens here doesn't provide a model for resolving the Spanish banks either. So it's sort of a standalone unit.
You know, we were just showing pictures of Laika Bank. Jim Bolden, who's in Nicosia, spoke to the CEO this morning, who said, which echoed what you said earlier in the week. You thought that this haircut idea was actually a good one. You thought that this business of going into bank accounts was a good one and wouldn't actually cost. It would preserve the banks, and it wouldn't actually send those deposits, a large proportion of which are non-Cypriot and in many cases Russian, out of the country. Explain that to me.
Well, you know, the banks in Cyprus offer higher interest rates than banks elsewhere, and the tax on that, there's no tax on that interest. So let's say you had your money in a bank account here in Cyprus for 2 years. Even after the haircut that they were planning, you would still be better off than if you had had that money in a German bank for 2 years. So people would think it's just a cost of doing business, it's a one-off, it's over, and they would still be continuing to enjoy the advantages of banking here. But now it's going to be a lot more difficult. They've really shot themselves in the foot, or the opposition party, by opposing this, has shot themselves in the foot or a little bit higher.
Marshall, this is Pauline Chu in Hong Kong, and there are some news reports coming out this hour saying that Greece has agreed to absorb the Greek branches of the 3 major Cypriot banks, and that this would have benefits for Cyprus's government. Can you explain that to us? How would this benefit Cyprus if this indeed is going to happen?
Well, it reduces the liability.